Hello and welcome to the studio. Now, you have to be careful. I advise all of our listeners to be seated from now on because there's just too much excitement about to happen. Firstly, we have two Welsh people in the studio. Not happened before, may not happen again, but it's a great pleasure to have a fellow Welsh person here. We're also talking about one of the hottest categories, i.e. sneakers, but at the cutting edge of sneakers. And more importantly, we're focused on the store and on people. I hope I've set that up well enough, Shannon. So do you want to tell everyone, Shannon Osman from Footasylum, who you are, a little bit about your role, and a little bit as well about Footasylum, Shannon?
Of course. So I'm Shannon Osman. I'm the head of retail at Footasylum. So we are an apparel, footwear and accessories retailer. We stock several genders, men's, women's, children's clothing and footwear. So we are now 20 years old. We had a 20-year anniversary party last year, which was wonderful. We have got almost 70 stores now in the UK, and we have just signed a contract with a franchise partner. So we're going to the Middle East, which is so exciting, and which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit more later. But yeah, that's Footasylum. We are industry leaders when it comes to generating content related to our consumer. And I'd hope for anyone that's been in a Footasylum store, you've had just the experience of being in Footasylum and felt like you're part of the community.
Great. Now, sneakers represent a very broad market, from old people in wide-fitting soft shoes to athletes to hype beast style leaders, to people just following their own fitness activities. So, where in that world do you sort of pitch your tent and say, this is what Footasylum adds to the incredible wealth of provision that already exists?
So Footasylum work with some of the best brands in the world. We are brand incubators, so any brands that are up and coming, we try and secure those brands as early on in the journey, support them, and then make sure that we help them capitalise and get the best format possible to be able to launch their brands. We've had so much success with this in the past, and again, another key part of this is we understand our consumer. We understand who it is that we're targeting, and we really try and make sure that we gear towards those individuals, whether it's visiting one of our stores or the interaction that they get with us online.
So tell me about those consumers, because a couple of years ago, we did an interview with Mike, Chief Digital Officer at Footasylum, and I got back from New York. I was telling my kids, and they were just, sarcasm central, saying, "Oh, Dad, do you even know what Footasylum is?" And so I had a bit of grief off them. So my assumption is that it's a younger, more fashion-forward audience. But tell me how far off that assumption is, or not.
So Footasylum's core consumer is Gen Z, Gen Alpha. So you'll see from the social media content and stuff we've done, we really gear to our consumer. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, throughout our journey has been who our consumer is, and that's who we try and target in every aspect of what we do.
Now, you mentioned you've been going for 20 years. And so over that time, the youth has changed. So the youngster of 20 years ago now has responsibilities and is probably off to Decathlon buying cheap football shoes and trainers for their kids. So that age group has moved on. So how do you maintain a relevance to each new successive year of new young customers without them thinking, "Oh God, that was my older brother or sisters. That's so uncool"? How do you keep that contact as the world changes?
I think it's so important to be able to move with the times. We've just been on a journey when it comes to customer service at the moment, because using customer service as an example, from when we were younger, you would expect to walk into a store, be spoken to, "Hi, how are you today?" and that big conversational piece. Gen Z, Gen Alpha are far less conversational on a store journey. If they could get something in seconds quickly with limited interaction, but then just want to speak to someone as and when they're available, we've literally gone through every gear of our business to make sure that at each touching point of when our consumer changes, we change with them.
That's very interesting, especially because as a brand, you put so much effort into social and easily shareable content, but yet the store is a place where, if you like, it's a sort of conversation freer zone because people, I assume, already know what they want to just going in to buy.
Yeah, I think Gen Z, Gen Alpha coming in groups, they're all together. And I think technology is at the forefront of everything these days. And if we are not quick enough to be moving with the times to understand that's how people shop these days, then we will get left behind.
That's interesting. Well, let's maybe jump into the shop, because you, in your career, have had a store-focused journey. So, it's we all talk about omni-channel, the e-com channels, etc., etc. But we spend a lot of time in store, doing store visits, and I'm always struck by the difference that the brilliant frontline staff make. So, just tell us a bit about the contribution you think that frontline staff make, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you're recruiting and training them. So, if you had to sum it up to someone who didn't get retail, what's the pitch for the role of the store and store staff?
Is it vitally important? Like, people say that the high street is dead and there's no longer any almost value to bricks and mortar. This so is. Like, the staff members that are on the shop floor are the most vital employees in the business. They are, when a customer comes into the store, what represents you as a company, and that's the face-to-face interaction that your customers are having ultimately. So it's wonderful when you've got the marketing content, the wonderful website, but if you do want that face-to-face interaction and you go into the store, these individuals are your brand representatives. So it's very important that they're made to feel like that and that they're giving that experience to the customers.
Now, I get that. It's lovely to hear it, but your life is a little bit harder than most of general retail because you've got a large store estate, and a lot of your staff are themselves Gen Z. So I can understand straight away that it's great to have Gen Z talk to Gen Z. I love that. But if one accepts some of the common cliches, Gen Z are quite difficult to train, retain, motivate. So do you want to dispel some of those misconceptions, or maybe just tell us how you mobilize a largely Gen Z staff to be, these outstanding brand ambassadors?
So for us, when I got into this role, a big thing for me was, with the world of AI at the moment, it's not lost on me that people are generating their CVs through AI. So that is one thing. And then a second thing is, everybody's CV says, I'm punctual, reliable, I've got wonderful communication skills, and there's probably 5 to 6 words that are the key trigger words in any CV. And then probably in the past, everyone's got experience of employing the individual, and actually they probably don't obtain at least 3 to 6 of those skills that they've listed in their CV. So when I entered into this role, a vital thing for me was changing the way that we recruit. So what we chose to do, we're going to take the CVs away and we are going to upload the job vacancy with the availability that's required, and then you get invited to a group interview, and the best person on the day gets the job, regardless of anything else. And for me, I think there was slightly unconscious bias maybe when recruiting. You'd see certain CVs and be like, no, I don't want that one. Or managers have preferences, right? Everyone has a preference to certain things. This takes away all elements of that, because when you stand there on the day, you see who the lead candidates are. And I think yes, our workforce may be predominantly Gen Z, but they've gone through the rigorous thing of standing in a room in front of loads of people and showing that they can converse through loads of different question sets or group activities to be the best candidate for the job.
And so these are real life. This isn't like a group, meet or Zoom call. You get the people in a room. It's literally like Shark Tank or,
It's old school.
a competition. And so when you have, so the two questions are, what gets you in the room to begin with? So, you've got 1,000 CVs, all written by AI, all saying how, they're the best person ever with the same keywords. Question one, how do you get the people in the room? And then secondly, what are the criteria you're looking for once they're in the room?
So the first part is, so there isn't the CV, you just pre-program your availability into the system. If your availability matches, and there may be 5 trigger questions as to, are you able to do X, Y, and Z? And they may be knockout questions. And then you get invited to a group interview. So the managers will invite approximately 10 people to each group interview, and it'll be within one of our stores. So Oxford Street is an example. Jasmine, the store manager, will invite those 10 people, and then you'll do a mixture of exercises. So it may be like a team building exercise to see who that person is that leads that thing. Because I think a big thing for me is, it's all well and good wanting to work in customer service, but you've got to be able to communicate.
Yes.
And this is, if you have a one-to-one interview with someone, it's very easy to get the conversation flowing. If you're in a group environment with big personalities who are all vying for the attention, it's who has the most consistent performance throughout that. And I think that's what it is the consistency and having the personality and allowing for that to come out during this 1 hour session.
Fantastic. And do you find that acts then as a sort of filter for people who just want to be at keyboards applying? Has it been well received, or, people complaining that it's not fair?
No. So our staff retention has gone from 107% since we started this down to 75%. So it's reduced. We are retaining the people now because the people we're employing want to stay with us, and we are employing people that want to do the job that we've sent
so it's a
out.
better match.
A much better match, yeah. And if anything, our seasonal hires are probably the best example of that, because previously you'd get seasonal hires that were put into the pressure cooker at Christmas and almost like, struggle through it. Now we come to the end of December and the store managers are calling the area managers being like, I want to keep them all. Like, can everyone stay? And we're keeping a lot of people's numbers to be able to call them back and rehire in the future, which is, I think, a big testament to this new recruitment strategy.
Interesting. Now, alongside the retention, you've also got quite a significant expansion period. So we're being told on the one hand we're in a post-high street era, whatever that means, but yet you're opening a load of stores here and also in the Middle East, which we'll come on to in a second. So how are you managing to, especially when you're going to a new area, to manage that growth?
So everything for us is a team effort, and that goes across every single thing that we do. Community and challenge are 2 key values that we have within our business, and this goes to even our new stores. We have a meeting, we have key stakeholders that sit there. If someone truly believes in something, it's all about the figures and the photographs and the site visits and spending time in that area to make everyone else believe in. So we're opening a store in Merthyr Tydfil midway through this year. I am slightly biased, but it was my idea. But it was about me getting everyone else to understand what is so great about Merthyr and why we should have a store in that location, and backing it up with catchment area data or figures that are related to the area, such as the new ski slope opening. And everything that we do relating to those new stores is data driven and getting the knowledge from the people in those locations.
I mean, it's an interesting balance of this very human hands-on, eyeball-to-eyeball approach along with the data. So it's good to hear that combination,
Yeah, you
but
need
also a
both.
difficult line. Yeah, no, you do
Yeah.
need both. Now, I'm going to have to come for the opening. I take that as an invitation because the listener will not know that I grew up 5 miles from Merthyr, so I could call it a sort of local store. Talking about staff, though, you've been a bit humble because we haven't mentioned yet that you won Retail Employer of the Year 2025. And there were some great quotes attributed to you from that. People work for people and progression isn't a title. So I love those. So we've covered the hiring. Tell me about why people stay with you now and what a career looks like at Footasylum.
I think everyone wants to be part of something, regardless of what job that you do. You want to feel like you're included, your opinion is valued, and you're actually part of something. We probably were guilty of that years ago, of saying that we wanted to do that, but never really getting maybe the time to be able to invest in everyone. A big thing that I've done over the last 18 months is make sure that everyone in Footasylum has an opinion. If you have the opinion, you're free to voice it. Some of the best operational and efficient decisions we've made over the last 18 months have come from our store managers, and whether it's ways and things that we could do things differently or things they think that we already do that we need to push more. And it's about everyone feeling inclusive. So I think, and to the progression comment, everyone thinks progression is going for the next job title. Progression is reading a book that you never even knew existed, that your line managers sent you on to, of something that you're interested in. I mean, my old manager told me to read Black Box Thinking. It was one of the best books I've ever read. I think it completely changed the way that I work. And I think if you know the people that work for you well enough, you can have the involvement in their progression without actually saying, here's a title change, here's a salary thing. It isn't always about that, because business doesn't work that way.
It's a really interesting point. So let's maybe take that as our jumping off moment to look towards your expansion in the Gulf. I haven't been to the region, more than half a dozen times, and I wouldn't say that I've got a representative or in-depth view. But there are two challenges as well as the opportunities, of course. But two challenges there. One is working through a franchise partner, and secondly, it's not the UK's Gen Z culture. So how are you looking at that, thinking, yes, I'm going to spend a lot of time on a plane. It's going to be exciting. But, how are you approaching getting the Footasylum DNA and the ways you've spoken about so inspiringly into a whole new region and culture at scale and pace, like a big sort of boom?
So we've got one of the best franchise partners in the world, and I think that's the best starting point. Someone who understands us, someone who sees our journey and sees what we stand for, is the cornerstone of where we base all our decisions. The second thing for me is I went to Dubai and Abu Dhabi 2 weeks ago for the first time. I attended an industry event, and I was fortunate enough to attend the Mall of Emirates, the Mall of Dubai, and Dubai Hills whilst I was there. And every single mall that I entered, it just felt like Footasylum should be there. Dubai,
That's interesting. Okay.
I think the Dubai and the Middle East is all about elevating customer experience and giving someone that best in class experience. And that's what Footasylum stand for. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we are showing up in the best locations in the world. And this is going to be one of those opportunities for us.
So it's an interesting, if you like, nuance to the brand positioning, because it's a market that responds to luxury and to brand, as well as taking service for granted and then expecting something more. So in a way, this isn't like your mum or dad's sneakers thing. This is moving you more towards a I don't want to say luxury because it's overused, but definitely tip of the tree, top of the pile type of retail aspiration.
Yeah, and there's no reason why Footasylum shouldn't sit amongst those juggernauts of retail that are sitting in those locations. I think if we think about the amount of expats that have gone over to the Middle East over the last couple of years, they already know who we are. They've already come from here. So I think word of mouth is going to be a big thing for us in those places as well.
I mean, let's maybe go back to word of mouth and social and comms in particular, because you exist separate to, but part of this ecosystem where, you've got the global giants like, the Nikes and Adidas, etc. on the one hand, and then you've got specialist sneaker stores, JD, which used to be a part of, etc., etc. So you live in a complicated but connected world. So how do you sharpen that message and get it out to people what Footasylum stands for?
So just some really quick stats as to Footasylum's marketing strategy. Last year, we had 1.2 billion organic views across social media. That was 35% up on the previous year. We sit in the top 5% of TikTok users globally with our content. We are up against people like the BBC, Sky Sports, the England team when it comes to content. So we are industry leaders when it comes to appealing to our consumer. We've had multiple series of Locked In that have been so successful during this time. So generating impact on stores has been a big thing for us, and we've worked on getting uniform and POS that sits within the store to make sure that everyone understands the full journey. But we have an additional 200,000 app downloads just when Locked In is on.
So tell me about Locked In, just so people who haven't experienced it will know.
So Locked In is where we put some really key influencers, YouTube, content creators and stuff into a house, and they're there for a certain time period, and then we just film how they're interacting, they play games, and then there's ultimately a winner at the end.
Wow, so it's like being in the Big Brother house, but without the negatives and with a sneaker focus.
Yes, and it is all positive. I think that's the thing for us. It's about humour and lightheartedness, and our key message throughout this entire period is just about fun and that key, humour message.
Mm. And do you have other brands coming to you saying, we love Locked In, can we do a collab with you? So it's, Footasylum on the feet and accessories, but, use this blender or, this protein supplement. It must be a magnet for people contacting you to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think our marketing team are inundated when Locked In is coming, of people to work with. We do use our third-party brands as well as our own brands on the contestants whilst they're in the Locked In house. So they'll be wearing loads of the different product, which is obviously a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to drive that footfall into the stores for people to come and get everything. But I think the key thing with Locked In and the whole journey is we're so focused on making this omni-channel journey. You can get the product in the stores, you can see it on the website, they're downloading the app, and it is a big project to combine all the departments together.
Yeah. Now, I should just say, if your marketing team are listening, that the RetailCraft podcast is available for residencies and collabs. Going back to the omni-channel and the comms side, getting all of this data into the hands of your frontline staff must be a challenge. I know you've been pioneering quite a lot of work with workforce management information systems and helping everyone in the front line sort of perform at their best. So tell us a bit about that.
I think our staff are so technology savvy these days, and probably far more than the people that are leading them. We really wanted to get a communication platform that allowed us to be able to cater to every single person across the business. I think we were very good at head office having communication, filtering it down to area managers and store managers, and then to be able to grasp everyone else that sat within retail was actually quite difficult. So when we were looking for a communication platform, we really wanted to get the business that allowed us to speak to everyone. And this is where we started our journey with Zipline. So the key thing for me was I put a team of people together and they met with loads of different providers. Rightly or wrongly, they met with Zipline first, and after that point, they were just comparing everyone to those guys.
And what is it though? Because we've got a lot of workforce management, and my son has worked in hospitality as a pub manager, and they seem a little bit like track you. They're very admin heavy. It's all about logging in, logging off. They're kind of like time cards and, sending you staff manuals. So they don't have a great reputation, but you're sounding super chirpy about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So what are the characteristics then of this kind of comms that really, made you think this was the right thing for you?
The big thing that won us over is like social media. It looks like social media, you interact with it like social media, and if you're going to get the buy-in of a big workforce and you want it to appeal to those users, the staff love using it, the managers love using it. We do get execution rates, we do get readership rates. There is data that sits behind it to give elements of accountability, but that is certainly not the reason why we brought it in. It was just about making sure that we could communicate with everyone. If we had instances where we wanted everyone to vote for, we went to the Retail Bulletin Awards, we used the platform to get everyone to vote for Store Manager of the Year. Whereas before it was probably really limited as to the people we could ask. It would have been area managers around the table and they all would have been fighting for the person they knew the best. But now we're getting 1,300 responses as to who the person is they think should win.
Wow. So really engagement and bottom up.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a strapline, Defy Ordinary, which, apart from being pretty cool, does set up some expectations. So for a day-to-day store manager, either in Preston, Bradford, or even Dubai, how do you codify or encourage them to defy ordinary? How do you bring that to life?
Biggest thing for me is giving everyone a voice. And I think actually that's out of the ordinary these days, is giving everyone the chance to be able to speak up and give their opinion or give a suggestion as how to change something. We as a business, change is good. Everything that comes from change, you either learn from if it goes badly, or if it's positive, you reap the rewards of it. So it's about making sure that the managers understand that you can have an opinion, you can change things. We do have the core basics that you need to stick to in order for the store to function as it should do. But if you've got suggestions as to how we can make that better, then we're listening.
I mean, that's those people say that, but they don't always mean it. So it is fascinating to see that put in practice, both culturally and in a human way and via technology. So it's very inspiring. Now, I did trail at the top of the podcast a football story. So I am going to get serious and businessy again in a minute. But when I was researching you, it kept popping up that Shannon, quote, spent 2 years coaching football in the US. So I think we need to know a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, of course. So I was in college. I thought I wanted to be a PE teacher, and all of my efforts were going towards being a PE teacher. When we were in college one day, a company came and sat with us and were like, would you like to go to America for the summer? You get paid when you're there. You just have to teach children how to play football. And I went home and I was like, Mum, I'm going. Like, I'm off. So I was stationed in Baltimore initially. For the 2 years, both summers, I've done 14 different states in America. I met some incredible families who I'm still in touch with now. I lived on marine bases. So I lived in the middle of New England, in Connecticut, in the mountains. It was the most incredible experience. It was wonderful.
Wow. Now, statisticians will obviously be plotting the correlation between your tenure and the performance of the US national teams. So I will let that to them. But I mean, one of the reasons I like that story was it shows an openness, a sense of adventure, a connection with people, and wanting to learn, live, and listen with them rather than just spectate. So, bringing it back to a sort of more business focus, you've had a career from shop floor to leadership. What do you think is the thing that hasn't changed at all? So, from your very first, standing behind a till in the old days to now, is there a constant that you'd say, I'm exactly the same and I knew this 20 years ago?
I think the expectation is still the same. Everyone that comes into a store wants that experience. The experience may have changed between when I was on the shop floor 17 years ago to now, but I think everyone goes to a store, they want to have a good experience, they want the music to be appealing to them, they want the staff to be able to give them the guidance that they need to get. The actual expectation of the sales assistant is exactly the same. It's just changed with time to how the customer's behaviour is.
So looking forward then, because you've progressed, but there's still a lot of career ahead. What do you think, as you mentioned before, getting a book had changed your approach? As you survey 2026, what's on your reading list or your experience or learning list where you're thinking, do you know what? I'm going to invest a little bit of time here or there because I see these things are going to make a change for my career in the business. So if you like, what's on that smorgasbord of learning that you see ahead of you?
So I've just been given a book for my birthday called The MBA of Business, which is going to be my next read. Someone told me that it's another black box thinking and that it's going to really change the way I think about things. So I'm excited to read that. I've recently sat down with my CEO to discuss what my things that I wanted to focus on for my learning this year. And then I've done exactly the same with my team and they've done the same with their team. So February for us is all about goal setting. Everyone writing down those 3 key things as to what they want to achieve this year. And I always try and say it needs to be 2 work and 1 personal. If someone wants to pass their driving test, the business needs to be able to give them the time off to be able to do that. So the area managers at the moment are working through with the store managers and they're doing the same with their teams. We start in February. We review again in 3 months to see where everyone's at. Do we need to tweak? Do we need to move direction? But everyone is in charge of their own goals. I think I've said it before. Anybody can open a door for you, but it's up to you to walk through that door. So that's all we're going to do this year. We're going to give everyone opportunities. We're going to be making sure they write their goals down, and then we'll see where they come out in a couple of months' time.
Wonderful. So maybe we should change your job title to Director of Door Openings and Opportunity.
There you go. Director of Door Openings.
Listen, we've achieved something this morning. Shannon, it's been absolutely fascinating chatting with you. And I think, given some of the stuff we're covering, with AI, automation, et cetera, it is a timely reminder of how people and performance go hand in hand when you're building a retail experience. So massive thank you for joining us and for your openness. And we wish you well. And we'll catch up with you later in the year when you can tell us how all the goals are working out.
Oh, thank you so much, Ian. Thank you.